Thank you. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Is there any public comment? Okay, did everybody have a chance to read last month's minutes? Are there any changes? Discussion? Okay, minutes stand approved. Financial report. Did everybody get the financial report?
Yes. This one?
Okay. Okay, any discussion or comment there? Okay, in Aubra's absence, I will try to figure out the report, or the claims. All right, bear with me here, I apologize. Vendor name UMB Visa, amount $384.53.
That's for the gopher.
The gopher eradication things, yep, okay. That was expected. Robert Pesha, 6,270, which we have in the agenda coming up here. We have $14.44 for file folders at Walmart. That must have been Abra, I assume. $84.28. Nuts and bolts and spray paint. That must be you at hardware store. Okay. And $30.39 for the windsock 18-inch. Good. That is all she's got. Would you like to see those? And that Robert Pesha invoice is what you'd expected, Daryl? 6,000.
Yeah, I think that's the final closeout for the work they did on the land acquisition.
Yeah. Okay, is there any discussion on the claims?
Move to be approved.
Okay, we have a motion approved in a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so did everybody get this email from Lance printed off?
No.
Okay, so I'm just going to read it. It's very...
Want me to make copies?
Nope, it's very brief. 2 points in it he's got in here. FAA land reimbursement grant was issued, I think he meant to say, and subsequent 97.5% of the costs reimbursed. Final grant closeout report has been submitted, and we will await the last 2.5% reimbursement with FAA concurrence in the closeout. Second point, major project design is progressing. We are aiming to make a push to final design these next few weeks and have it sitting on the shelf in time for bidding, depending upon FAA 2024 funding timing on when to turn out for bids. So that was expected there as well. Any comment on Lance's report?
I know that the payments were submitted to the FAA Delphi system, so we should be...
So we're waiting to be paid back from the
real quick,
FAA.
yep. Mhm.
Okay. Great. Airport agreement addendum, I guess we're still waiting, correct?
Yeah,
Okay. So the ball is in county attorney's court.
it is.
No pun intended. Okay. Draft hangar application process document. Same scenario, correct, Daryl?
I'm not sure why that's in there. I thought that was approved by you guys.
Draft hangar construction application process document. Yeah, didn't we?
Yeah, you
Didn't we
approved it
vote,
and
approve that?
the
Okay, so that.
commission approved it either last week or week before last, so
Okay,
it's a good document for you guys to use.
yes. Okay, sorry. Okay, next item on the agenda, we have Wade Litton's
1 second,
hangar lease. Go ahead.
sorry. That one before the draft hangar construction,
Oh, you have to come up to the microphone, sorry. State your name, spell the last name.
Steve Palinkos, Palinkos, 49 Airport Drive. Is this draft hangar construction, is this about the new hangars?
We revised the process to apply, to streamline it, to make it more obvious and clearer to people that want to apply. We retained basically all of the old document, the application process.
Oh.
And, go ahead.
That's not what I'm asking. It looks like somebody laid a hangar out.
No,
Okay. And my just a general question,
Hmm?
so we're gonna lose one spot?
Nope, there's 2 hangars going in that spot. If it's the spot I think you're talking about.
Behind Cody and Cody.
Yes. Isn't that right? Yeah.
Alongside of the south side of Ferguson.
yeah.
So
you look
where
12
those
and
marks
13.
are, there's 2 hangars going there?
Yes.
That's one tentatively, depending on the layout of
And then you're gonna get another one between that and Ferguson?
the goal was to maximize the space available.
I would just check the setbacks. I don't know if you can get one
It's,
between Ferguson and the empty spot.
when it was measured out, we just did rough measurements. I went out there with my father and
It could be, I'm ju-
tentatively, yeah. I met with, I don't know if this is a good time to address it.
Well, we have an item here that we'll be addressing all that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
In-
I
in
didn't know.
detail.
That's why I asked if that was.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, we can talk about it in a minute.
Yep, thank you. Okay, we have a hangar lease request from Wade.
Hi, my name is Wade Litton, L-I-T-T-O-N. I'm in the John Sindelar's old hangar, as you all know. So when I responded to the ad read, "This hangar is one of the few that's grandfathered in where you may reside on the premises." This was advertised on Realtor.com. So I put in a call. Hey, if I buy this hangar, will I be able to get this lease? Yeah, no problem. So that's all I found out. So I've asked John Sindelar and the other residents at the airport if they were notified of any non-assignment of existing leases. And they said, no, we've never heard anything about that. So I went back to the old leases before I made the purchase. The original lease stated that there was a residence being built. That was 2004 within the hangar. Subsequent lease to John Sindelar specifically allowed the existing residences to remain the same. So I had John Sindelar's lease also said that it will be assigned, consent will not reasonably be withheld to assign John's lease. So in my phone calls, I said, so if I go ahead and close on this, will you be assigning me John's lease? And they go, no, we'll just give you a new term. So you'll get the whole 20 years and then 4 or 5 year periods. It was never mentioned to me anywhere in there or any other residents at the airport that there would be a change to the lease not allowing the current use of those 4 hangars. So it seemed like at that time there was no policy governing that. From anything I could find, there was nothing in writing for sure. So since they advertised it that way, since I contacted the board on numerous occasions and was told, don't worry, you'll get your lease. I think that was the terms we used. It seemed to me like I was going to get the same lease. So after waiting 10 months, I received a lease in the mail. And it strictly prohibits the residential use of the property that I'm buying, which I have another residence, so I don't reside there. It's not my tax home, anything like that. But it affects the value of the property I bought because now I can't sell it for the purpose which I bought it. And I think there's 3 other residents out there that are probably on the same boat. They've bought hangars that were explicitly allowed to have a residence in them when they were built and leased later on. And then sometime in the last 10 months, in between the time I bought it, I talked to the board a couple of times, everything seemed fine. So sometime in between there, the policy changed, apparently. And so I guess my proposal is that I have the remainder of the Cindelar lease as it's written, or a new 20-year lease with the 4 or 5-year extensions with this, excuse me, with the same conditions as the Cindelar lease has. I think the Cindelar lease has in parentheses the language existing portions of the residential hangars at the Townsend Airport. So that was what was allowed in his lease. So obviously I had the assumption that when I was told I would get the same lease that the language would stay the same. So it affects my value, as I guess. It's not I'm not trying to move into the hangar, it affects the value of my hangar. Because they're being advertised as grandfathered in. So the 3 other residents out there could have the same problem. Like, will we not be able to sell our hangars? Has a policy changed where we can't sell our hangars with the same grandfather clause? So that's my proposal.
Okay. To clarify, your proposal is to continue John's lease under your name.
Right.
Okay.
To have the remainder of his lease assigned, because he was in it for 5 years, so it'd be 15 years with 4 or 5-year extensions. And I think the language in his lease says consent shall not be unreasonably withheld, and leasee will be subject to the same conditions. And so that's the lease that the realtor and John and myself were under the impression that we'd be getting.
Okay. Thank you. So to clarify, we're talking about one lease, your lease. This has nothing to do with the other leases that are on the airport.
Right.
So let's I guess concentrate on this one lease. That's number one. My thoughts on how it was advertised is we as a board do not advertise. We're not in the realty business. So we don't have any effect on what it is advertised as. So if it was advertised different than what it is, we don't have any control over that. I do recall talking to you on the phone at that time before you had purchased it. Also, John Sindelar called me on the phone. So I guess there's not a written record of that, but I specifically and clearly stated that going forward this would not be a residential property. Now, if it's one person's word against another.
Did you say that to me?
I thought you and I talked on the phone. I know John and I talked on the phone, and I was very clear about it.
So just to let you know, I was looking at airport properties all over the United States, well, the Northwest, and I talked to you twice before I closed, and you never mentioned anything to me. So that's why I bought. So I was so surprised after 10 months when I go, well, this is excluded. I paid too much. I would have went with one of these other properties. So
Okay.
I know you're not in charge of advertising, but it would seem like if you're going to change that, like it should be done in writing to all the other 3 tenants too. Like, hey, by the way, if you ever sell your house, we made a decision somewhere along the line that can't be, these leases can't be assigned. But the lease says it, in the language in the lease, it says it can be assigned. So I'm not understanding how that somehow some telephone conversation or something, there's nothing in writing that says it can't be assigned other than the lease which says it actually can be assigned. The only thing we have in writing is the lease then. Because you said you talked to John. John says he never heard that. So that's just, but I know I talked to you and I know you never told me that because I wouldn't have bought the property for that value if I couldn't use it as a hangar home. Because to me, the price I paid, that was the value. I was like, well, I could sell this as a hangar home. They're 1 in a million. I'll be able to get my money back out of it. So, you know, I turned down the other offers I was making and bought that one instead. So, the only thing it seems we have in writing then is the language in John's lease that says it will not be unreasonably not assigned. I won't read the whole lease to you, but that's the language that it uses.
Yeah,
I think that's out of our hands, though, since the FAA stood into this, got their fingers into it.
yeah, we certainly have nothing to gain by meddling into this. It is out of our hands. Daryl, can you help us clarify?
This is a decision, a discussion that these guys can't make. You already had your conversation with our county attorney, right?
He just basically says you told him what to say. He didn't have any information. He didn't know anything about the FAA. He basically didn't know anything. He just says,
Well,
no, it's not up for discussion. That's the way it reads is the way it reads. And I go, how can it be changed when it says that consent will not be withheld in the lease that I was looking at when I called the board and said, well, can we get this lease in writing? He said, don't worry, you'll get a lease.
Mhm.
So, and it says it will not be withheld. So I'm reading this and hearing this. And so then the attorney says, well, we're not going to change it. That's just what you got. What I wrote is what you got. It took 10 months to get it. So I'm wondering if the policy changed in that 10 months? Or if the policy was that way, why were the owners of those hangars not notified in writing they wouldn't be able to sell their hangars with the existing leases?
You know, that's a great question, and that has to be taken up with the owners, previous owners of the hangar. I'm not gonna get into it tonight because
Right.
there's a big history behind this.
Okay,
Your fight is not with this board.
okay,
Your fight's with the FAA.
okay. So that,
And I already talked to our county attorney. I know exactly what he told you.
right.
You're not telling me that tonight. So,
Again, he didn't send me anything in writing other than a proposed lease with different language than I had.
you want him to send you something in writing?
He didn't quote any regulation that I can look up. He just said the FAA is cracking down on airports or something like this, and this is the way we're going to do it. So I guess my question is this affects the value of the hangar. I'm not trying to move into the hangar. I'm just saying it affects the value of my hangar. And like somehow the owners of these hangars, Sindelar and the other three, haven't been told that the values of their hangars might be changed in the future. So the county attorney basically didn't have any information for me. He said, I wrote the lease, that's kind of the way it is, that's all you got.
Okay, that's where we're gonna leave it.
Okay.
So what I need to know from you right now, you're refusing to sign a new lease. Yes, no? Yes, no?
So what I'm asking is if I can assume John Sindelar's lease that's in the contract that John Sindelar had.
Okay, if you can't do that, then what do you want to do?
Well, can we discuss whether or not I can do that? Can it?
Not up to me.
Well, can that come to a vote first?
That's not up to this board.
Okay.
It'll be up to our county attorney.
And so the county attorney just said, well, I wrote it, that's just what you got.
Sounds like you need to have another discussion with our county attorney.
Okay. Because he didn't seem like he was knowledgeable about this language in John Sindelar's lease. He asked me who the previous owner was. I said, you don't have the lease in front of you? He goes, well, I'll have to go look it up. I don't know. So, what I'm asking, and I guess it's not for the board then, it's, because I haven't, so as the FAA, so if the other tenants at the airport sell their hangars, the FAA's, I'd like to see the FAA directive saying that these grandfathered in hangars are no longer allowed to be used for residential.
It's out there.
I can't find it.
Well, I have.
Oh, okay, so that's what I'm trying to
You
find.
have
I do.
written
I'm trying
on
to
the
find.
FAA that says-
Listen, you guys, you're getting a cart way ahead of the horse.
Okay.
No, this isn't.
Sit down, Steve.
Whoa.
Sit down.
I'm just trying to find out.
What I'm telling you is you're gonna follow procedure,
Okay.
okay? So
Okay.
if you have a comment, wait till he's done,
I am-
and then you'll come up here and you'll make your comment.
Okay. So
That's not how we do stuff here in these meetings, okay?
Okay, I understand.
Okay, very good. So, what I'm saying is that FAA guidance is out there.
okay.
They made the change. We
Is this
did
the-
not make that
Is this
change.
guidance in 2016, June?
I can't remember the date exactly, but I have all of that guidance.
Okay.
It's been provided to our county attorney. That's the basis they use to write this lease,
Okay.
okay? And I know it's gonna cause some hardships, but like I said, that fight is not with the county or this board.
Right, that's what I'm trying to find
The
out.
fight is with the FAA.
Okay, so what I'd like to get then, if I could request, respectfully, and I love it here, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to recover the value of my hangar. not-
I get it. I understand it.
So, I'm just saying, if the FAA is taking away those that we in the world perceive to be grandfathered in, as seems to be pretty common knowledge, I'd like to see that in writing. And because I think too many telephone calls have been made. Because it's like everybody says, well, somebody told me. So if I could just see in writing why we're doing this, or if the policy just came along later on and we just need to revisit the policy. I guess trying to find out what to do next.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who I'm addressing. So, so,
So we will get you the documentation
Okay.
from the FAA.
okay, that's what I'd like to see is if the FAA is absolutely not allowing what the aviation world in general is believed to be grandfathered in any longer, like when that took place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other tenants would probably need to know that too, because maybe their hangars, one of them has a 2,500 square foot home in it. Feasibly, his hangar would go down in value by 50% overnight if that letter was given to him. So like, it's like people want that information. So
Yep.
I'll look forward to getting that information. Thank you very much for your
Great.
time.
Thank you, Wade. Just to clarify, I know you want to speak, Steve. To clarify, I did get a phone call. I was very crystal clear because I was aware of the FAA policy. When John Sindelar asked me if this will go forward as a residential hangar, I was very black and white, that no, it is not going to be a residential hangar going forward. Okay, thank you, I have the information I needed. To my knowledge, that was before a sale was made. Now, I'm not involved with the sale, obviously, so I can't verify that, but that's what I was led to believe, so. Steve?
I guess this FAA letter precipitated this whole thing. How long have you had that letter?
We haven't. Oh, well, I don't know if I can get into the history behind all of this. This is actually something that should have been taken care of a long, long time ago,
Yep,
and it's fallen on us to try to sort it out.
okay. Has anybody gone back and read the minutes? The board hired attorney Butterwitz, and he smoothed everything out. Then Bill Berkland came around, raised its ugly head. We had to retrain him. Then Rick came around, brought it up. We had to retrain him. Then Lance came up, and I've been in and out. But the last time I was here, he brought it up. I'm tired of retraining these guys. Okay, if you have that letter, I would like to see it. But in 2006, and I tried to get the information, somebody changed the lock on the file cabinet, but there's plenty of information there. But it's Attorney Butterwitz, the board hired him because it got so, and there is a letter, a cover letter for the leases that said these leases have been approved by the board and by the city attorneys. Okay? And that the FAA, all the hangars, hangar homes have to have the same lease. So you can't have one lease one way, you can't have 8 leases out there. And this was all settled back in 2006, and somebody should take the time to go get those minutes, which I have done. I have gotten a copy of them and read through 3 hours of it, and it was all taken care of. So I would like to see that letter, and it's got to be postmarked or dated, probably after 2009 or 10. Otherwise, we've already fought that battle and we've won. And the AOP was involved back then, because not only does it affect Townsend, it affects the whole United States.
Yeah.
And they were told, okay, fine, you can do that when this all came up, but you have to buy our homes. And they said, whoa, we can't do that. And that's when they were grandfathered in.
To my knowledge, seems to me that there was something that the FAA had notified us, or maybe it was through Lance, I can't recall, that the people that were living there could live there, but if they moved, it became a hangar, not a hangar home. And
Then I'd like to see that letter. I mean, if he's going back, because way back when it started, if he's going over that, yes. But he's got to follow the steps that happened since 2006.
right.
And that was all ironed
I
out.
believe that when I heard that, I believe I may have been chairman of the board.
Now, I know you were on the board, because I was on at one point, well, for a while there
Chairman
also.
of the board for a while.
Right.
One term, but anyway, the FAA got involved in this again, and it seemed to me that everything was status quo until one of them tenants moved out, and then that became a hangar, not a hangar home.
Well, so what are you going to do with Chris?
I don't know. Is he moving out?
Say again?
Is he moving out?
No. But he just bought it.
I don't know.
Well, we'll have that discussion with Chris. And it sounds like we're gonna have some homework. We're gonna get our paperwork in a group so that we can have the written documentation with dates.
With what? I'm sorry.
With the dates that
Okay.
that the FAA had changed their policy and what directives that they have handed down. The crux of the issue is that this is an FAA-funded airport, and if we go by their, if we stay in compliance with their regulations, then we continue to be an FAA-funded airport.
How many jobs have we done that have been FAA funded?
You got a big
We-
one on the books
well-
right now.
Say again?
There's a big one on the books right now.
I said, how many have we done?
Well, there's been several of them.
Several. And it has not affected our funding.
Good.
How many times has the airport been inspected by the FAA?
Inspected by the state.
I'm sorry?
It's inspected by the state.
And the FAA? Never a problem. So I'd like to know where this ugly head what brought it up again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what brought it up. It was the FAA that dictated it to us, so.
So I'd like to see that letter or where that all started. And if it's been around for a while, I'm really disappointed in the board. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess to wrap this or to summarize it, we have some homework to do to get our documentation together. We have and will be working with the county attorneys to make sure that we're all on the same page. This board certainly has nothing to gain by getting in a fight with people, and that's not our desire. It is our desire to run an efficient airport that maintains the FAA funding. So that's what we're going to do. Do we have more public comment? Okay, so as far as Wade Litton's lease, we're going to put this on next month's agenda. It sounds like there's going to be some conversations and documentation through the county attorney, and we'll get this settled. Okay? Any further comment on this item? Okay, airport directory, I'm not familiar with this item. Who has that?
I can answer that.
Okay,
Dwight Thompson, Airport Manager. The airport directory, that's just the new changes, or any changes to the next year's airport directory that they wanted to have us look at. I did talk with Steve. They are actually sending out a little work guide that we can use, look at the airport, and some recommendations that he has when he travels around the state looking at different airports and stuff to change things too. So that's what that was.
For both airports.
Yeah, and I was going to have that for this meeting, and then Steve says he's got a working model thing that he wants to get to me, so that's what that's about. So we'll put that on next month's agenda.
okay, thank you. Okay, next item, airport maintenance letter. That must be you as well.
Dwight Thompson Airport Manager. The maintenance letter, I didn't get one out yet. I was going to try just to visit with the different hangar owners about if they would mow around their hangars. I just haven't been able to get a hold of people or get that done. I was gone last week. I've been gone for last week and things. So, but since I had talked about that, we have some people have cleaned up around their hangars. So,
Okay,
yeah, it might be just kind of fixing itself.
okay, thank you. That was a follow-up from last meeting. Your concern was the lessees taking care of their property. Sure. Okay, well, you're up again, Dwight.
Okay, well, Dwight Thompson, Airport Manager, and just a review or a little update here. So, good news, the airport's been being used. Like you probably saw in last week's paper, the group from Three Forks was up and did some skydiving classes and such, and our local Wade Litton, I think, was the first inaugural person to go jump out of an airplane for what reason I don't really quite understand, but I think he was the first guy to do it for the group, and apparently they had quite a few people do it, some local people. It's good to see the airport being used. I noticed this morning when I was getting the fuel numbers that the mower has a flat tire, so I'll have to address that before I can get out and mow. I talked last meeting about maybe getting some of that grass field fertilized, and Daryl got me some numbers for acreage and what type of fertilizer we might want to use. There was talk that you might have a spreader, Adam,
Yes.
that we can borrow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So this might be a good time to get this started. It's coming up on the end of September. It'd be good to put some winter fertilizer on, so we might have some good grass in the spring.
Okay. Yeah, just give me a call whenever you need it, and I'll bring it down, or we can use my tractor to, whatever's handy.
Okay, well, I'll get it ordered and I'll get in touch with you then. The Boy Scouts that were here last spring, we got rained out doing some painting. Got started and they contacted me, they'd like to come and finish their job. So they're actually gonna come next Monday and we're gonna finish up with some painting that didn't get done because of the weather. And the Civil Air Patrol cadets are gonna come the following Saturday and help me get some rocks off of the edges of the runway out at Canyon Ferry, so that when Ken rolls it next, might have a little bit better job of getting things flattened, so we're not tearing up the blade on the mower. So it'll be nice to have them help out. And then the airport director, that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Dwight?
Oh, a follow up on the irrigation. Seth's been working. I appreciate your help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you might well just give it a little.
Oh,
What's going on there?
If it wasn't brought up last time, the gentleman that I know that's an irrigation specialist said that the frost-free hydrant, in his best opinion, that the frost-free hydrant was old and wasn't opening enough, so the irrigation system wasn't providing enough volume. It had pressure but no volume, and so he said that the best course of action would be to change out the frost-free hydrant. And so I contacted a plumber, did not receive anything back from him. So I contacted another plumber. He said he could order parts, whatever the cost of the parts would be, and then probably an hour to two time, depending on how easy it was to change it out. That would probably free up the system to have more volume, and therefore fix it essentially. And then, but Shane, the sprinkler guy, did say that it would be best to tee off the pressure tank in the pilot's lounge and run a hole in the wall and put a backflow preventer in, because the system is kind of hodgepodge together right now, and that would probably prevent a lot of things going forward. And separate them out, separate the systems out from your frost-free to your underground sprinklers. So it's in process, but probably a ballpark of $350 to fix. And then we have blowouts set up for early October.
Great. Thank you.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Any other questions for Dwight? Okay, did everybody get my fuel cost printout here? I have a chart or a graph and some Excel spreadsheets here. On the front page here is just a visual representation of what the fuel price has been doing. The last line, I guess the 2023 line, is that it looks like dark brown or magenta or something. So the fuel price is high. It's been maintaining a pretty high price for the last, 2 years, I guess. Right now we're at $5.15. If you go to your second page, and this is just a spreadsheet that I made myself, so maybe it's not the easiest to read, but the very bottom line on the second page, dated 9/20 today, Dwight was nice enough to check the fuel level as always for us. We're at 6,122 gallons left in the tank. We've used 1,519 since the last meeting, which was 35 days ago. We've averaged 43.1 gallons per day. Now, the last discussion we had last meeting was that our fuel will expire after 9 months. Our last purchase was in January, which meant we would have to purchase it by the middle of October. Now, something didn't seem right to me with this 9-month expiration. It just something didn't seem right. So I did some poking around, and the fuel does not expire after 9 months. It is considered a good idea or best practice for fuel managers to add fuel every 9 months. I actually spoke with City Service Valcon. Megan is the gal that we're in contact with now, and she said that is a branded fuel, which we are not branded. it's a branded fuel thing, and she says it's a best practice. She said when it's branded fuel, we often look at that. In other words, there is no deadline, which is great news. Your fuel does not expire. It's still safe to use. It's still appropriate to use in aviation. She said sometimes when it's branded fuel, we take a closer look at that. Point being, if we don't have to buy fuel by the 9-month mark, it may be advantageous. And so that's why I printed off all these. The last page is specific fuel price by week. I've been tracking it since 2017. You can see on the 2023 column, the last number there is 515. That's the current 10,000 gallon load price from City Service Valcon. So I originally intended on buying fuel in October, which means we can only get a 5,000 gallon load. A 5,000 gallon load is 23 cents higher than a 10,000 gallon load. And so we've been in this trap where we don't sell enough fuel, so then we buy a 5,000 gallon load, so our fuel price remains high, so we don't use enough fuel, so our price remains high, and on we go. And we've been in this for about a year and a half, ever since we were out of fuel back in 2022, and we had to pay $5.75 for a 10,000 gallon load. So I guess what I'm saying is, rather than buy now when it's $5.15 or whatever it'll be a month from now, nobody knows, but let's assume it's around $5 or so, $5.15, something like that. And we have to buy a 5,000 gallon load, so we're going to add 23 cents of that. We're going to be at something like $6.20 a gallon again. So if everybody else is comfortable with it, I would rather wait till January or so, and we have enough fuel based on, we have 6,100, we can get the tank down to about 600. So we'd like the tank to get below 1,000 so that we can buy 10,000 gallons. We can put it'll hold 11,000 gallons with 1,000 gallons of room to spare, which is required for expansion. I guess I was excited about this because, you know, the historical price, for example, the price this January was $4.49 for 10,000 gallons, which would significantly reduce our cost. And I also wanted to say, the reason we talk about fuel so much and wanting to sell more, it isn't, I just wanted to clarify for the public and anybody watching, we're not selling fuel because we're laughing our way to the bank. I mean, if we sell 10,000 gallons a year, the airport takes in about $5,000. So, and that's a great thing for the airport. You know, it helps offset the cost of mowing and toilet paper in the bathroom, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to clarify that we're not talking about fuel because we're greedy fuel tycoons here. That's obviously not the case. So the reason we offer fuel in the first place is because it's a positive benefit for the aviation community. That's why we want to keep the price low. So I wanted to get that on record. So anyway, if everybody else is okay with it, I would propose that we wait till January if possible. Get a 10,000 gallon load, and assuming the price is below $5, we can maintain or even reduce our fuel price. Is there any thoughts or comments on
Any
that?
time up till January, if we get down to where we take the 10,000 gallon load.
Yes.
Yeah.
How much time do you need to get a 10,000?
They're typically
Lead
very
time.
quick,
Are they?
within a week.
Okay, so, yeah, I would say it's like summer driving, you know, the gas prices go up in the summer, so if we can wait and we have a week lead time, I
Yeah.
think it makes the most sense.
And on your colored graph there, the average over the years that I've been tracking it is that bright red line. I mean, the historic price is maybe $3.75 or something in January. December through January, maybe even in February, is historically the lowest price. We would love to buy a 10,000 gallons in January, so if that's possible, and based on our current usage, that's gonna be just about right, actually. So,
You don't need a motion on that.
no,
No. Something I would like to interject here, though. City Services used to tell us 99 months. You have to add fuel if you're not buying fuel. Well, anyway, you need to add fuel. They never mentioned branded fuel. So maybe they readjusted their requirements also.
yeah, and, you know, maybe I should possibly follow up and clarify that, but she was very clear on the phone today. It was considered I mean, I asked her directly, is it a requirement? What happens to the fuel after 9 months? Is it expired? Can it be used? Do we have to offload it? Oh, no, it's just a good idea.
Maybe if
I
she
see,
could.
we were told we had to offload it. We had to get it out of there.
That may have been back when we were branded Phillips 66.
If she'd be willing to clarify it with an email, a follow-up email, that
Okay, that'd be a
probably
good idea.
best. That
Good.
way it's in,
Yeah, that way
it's in writing.
we have something in writing.
Okay.
Good, Seth.
I will
Talk
see
to-
if I can get something in writing from city
Creates
service.
confusion unless there's,
Okay.
Just comment on that. Seth, you mentioned about, or asked about the delivery time.
okay.
When you have a less than a full load, it takes a little longer, so
Okay.
getting a full load, if they get it out here quicker. Otherwise, they they bring a full load, but half goes here and half goes somewhere else, so they
Sure.
gotta put
We
it
need to find
together.
another buyer to split the load.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm on their list.
Out of Billings, half loaded.
I'm on their contact list. When they're looking to share a load with someone, they'll often email and say, can you use however much they're looking to split. Again, it's typically at the 23-cent price hike.
Yeah.
So they're not willing to budge on that to make a worthwhile trip to fill a tank?
I don't know if that's hard policy or if it's case-by-case basis.
I don't know. As a business owner, I always look at it like my cost to make a trip, and you know, if you can make it work and still, they might be willing to budge. But
It's been our experience that it is higher even when you split a load. So. Okay, well, I'm going to verify that, try to get it in writing from city service, that is in fact the case. But given what I learned today, I think, or yesterday or whatever it was, that could be a real positive benefit for our fuel price going forward. So, any other comments? Okay. I'm going to put this under new business. Last week, we approved the lease of Brian Foster. Brian, are you still on the phone with us?
I am.
Okay, so this is Brian Foster, and he is looking to build a hangar. Also, Seth Wolfgram is looking to build a hangar, or in conjunction with his father. I apologize.
Peter.
Peter, okay. So I wanted to clarify the size of these two hangars. Now, last month we had a discussion with Brian. Sounded like he was willing to be a little bit flexible on the size. I guess what we're trying to do is these two lots, we're trying to maximize the use out of it, meaning build hangars of appropriate size to maximize the use, maximize the land that is there. And Seth has done a bunch of research for us on setbacks from electrical, sewer, water, and other things. So can I let you take over a little bit?
Sure. There's a lot of questions. The majority of the hangars are 10 feet apart. Some have a little bit more, some have a little bit less. I met with the Northwestern Energy regional guy that lives here in town, Sean, and he met me out there and we went and looked at where hangar 12 would be tentatively placed. And he said Northwestern Energy's policy, he was on the phone with the gal who sets the policy, is that the hangars have to be a minimum offset from the power box of 4 feet. And the distance between hangars has to be a minimum of 10 feet so that they can get equipment back and forth, and if they had to change out a power box. So that would, and just rough measurements, that would make the distance between hangar 11 and the tentative hangar 12, the distance width between them approximately 13 to 14 feet, because hangar 12 would have to move to the east about 3 feet to be 4 feet away from the box. And so I met with him, and we went out there and looked at that, and that's the conclusion we came to. Put a small peg in there where it would tentatively be. Then he showed me the map of the power, and the power goes behind the other hangars to the east, and then up the Ferguson and across the road, and they drew power from that side. So there's no utilities going to the south. From what I saw, you'd have to get the map and verify. Then also, I pulled had you pull the septic because there's an access port off the Ferguson hangar on the west side of the Ferguson hangar, some kind of which appeared to be a septic system. But the Ferguson hangar, all the septic is on the east side. Septic, and then the drain field was more what we were concerned for, because every approved septic has to have a secondary drain field in case there's a failure on the first one. So that was all on the east side of the hangar, so that means that with a 10-foot encroachment, you could encroach the hangar 13 within 10 feet of the boundary of the Ferguson hangar, which would expand the two lots. Sure.
Can I say something? 99% you're correct. But if you look at the distance between, so the hangar you laid out would be 12?
We tentatively
Yeah,
laid
I
out 12 to pull measurements to see
Correct,
what
I
was
understand.
available for 13.
So the one next to Fulford's is 12 going
Correct.
east, and then you're saying 13 would be Ferguson's.
13 would be in between 12
Yes,
and
right,
Ferguson's,
okay.
correct.
And I think you're right, it's 10 or 12 between the hangars, but between Ferguson's and the other hangar, it is the distance between Ferguson's and Cody's. It's not 10 feet. And you can check, but there's a requirement, and the same reason why Al's hangar and my hangar are, and I should have measured before I came here, 15, 16 feet.
Okay,
If they're closer, both have to have a firewall.
okay.
That's the way I understand it.
Yeah.
So I don't know with that dimension whether 13 would fit there.
Yeah, more information. So,
Yeah, I guess we have two people that are wanting to build, and it was my hope that we could finalize the size that they can build today, so that they can move forward with their projects.
Because back when that was laid out, we were thinking the two hangars would be similar to, well, they're both now Cody Rex. They would be similar to that size, and anything larger would face the tie down.
Okay, because there's a
Yeah.
larger setback next to a
And they're bigger
residence.
lots, yeah.
So the reason for the larger setback, larger than 10 foot, is
Is
because
'cause of
there's
residence.
a residence?
Right.
Okay. Brian,
might go back to the FAA.
Adam, is it helpful, so I think I was following everything there. So the hangar, the questionable space would be what I'm thinking is probably what's potentially for our hangar, and which would be the one with the electrical box right behind it. Would it be helpful if the hangar were not as deep as the 40 feet?
and Seth might be able to answer that.
Well, it only moves hangar 12 over about 3 feet to the east.
Hangar 12 is the farther west lot,
Correct.
up against the full
Up
court hangar.
against Fulford 11, yeah.
Okay.
So it's, what is he asking? Could you repeat that, please?
Well, so 40, what we just, in the last meeting, what we kind of talked about was 44 width which will give me a 39-foot door,
Yeah.
with a 40-foot depth. But I don't need quite that much depth. So I guess, does that, with the electrical box there and the setbacks, does the 44 width become a problem because of the depth and needing to slide the hangar east 3 feet? So in turn, if the hangar, for instance, were 6 feet shallower, does that?
It probably wouldn't, for hangar 13, it wouldn't matter because the depth only really would affect hangar 12. And so if you had to shrink, I guess the big elephant in the room right now would be, what is the required setbacks between the hangars if they don't have a firewall?
Well, let's concentrate on the question at hand, and that is,
I don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah, if there's these two won't have living quarters, but the Ferguson's has living quarters. So what's the setback between 13? The setback between Ferguson's and 13 would dictate the face, not
Okay.
the depth.
but just to go back to Brian's question, how far back is that electrical box? And if he makes his hangar less deep,
His hangar being hangar 13 wouldn't matter because it's not adjoining to any electrical box. So
it's your hangar that's got the
it would be
electrical
hangar
box back.
12
Okay.
that has the box.
Okay. Go ahead.
Peter Wolfgram. The other day, 2 days ago, when I was up and tentatively staked the property, we could go 15 feet off of Daryl's. We staked out 60 wide, and then with 10 between 12 and 13, 13 would be 45, and then it would be 10 to the Ferguson hangar. We took a tape out and we...
So in other words, if your hangar number 12 was 60 wide, then hangar 13, Brian Foster, would be 40 wide, and that would give you 10 feet to
45 wide.
45 wide.
It could be 45
With 10 feet
wide.
between each hangar.
So potentially, if we have to go 15 foot from Ferguson's hangar, which we'll have to verify that with, I suppose, the fire department, right?
Cool.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm not saying you can't do it, it's just that you have to meet the fire, If somebody put up the firewall, then that, whatever that is,
Okay.
16, 18 feet goes away, and you can use the 10 or 12.
But you could do 15, 60, 10, 40, 15.
Okay. Now, Brian, that causes a problem with your 39-foot door, I would imagine, to have a 40-foot wide hangar?
It's 45
Yeah,
foot wide.
Or he could do 45.
He could do up to 45.
He could do 45, it'd just be a
Yeah.
10-foot.
Okay, so his 44 wide is likely,
Tentatively, I mean, we just laid out the measurements and put stakes in. We did not shoot things in with a transit and take elevations and things like that. It was just to get a general idea. It needs a little bit more analysis with regards to if the fire plays into it, the requirements and setbacks for firewalls.
yeah, and I would imagine we want to avoid the firewall because that's an extra expense for Brian. I have no idea what that costs, but it would be an extra expense.
My friend Jim White had to do that in Bozeman, and it was just a double layer of
I think it's
sheetrock.
double layer, 5/8 sheet rock or something.
Sheetrock on one side is what he had to comply with, and that was it. Of course, it is an added expense.
Yeah. How do we get the final word on, and stop doing tentative stakes? Who do we talk to about that?
Probably the state building code. I would presume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I staked out 60 wide, but that's not written in stone. If we gotta,
We'd like to
We-
maximize our space, but still have the
if we
40-foot
gotta,
depth.
if we gotta, you know,
If you gotta go to 55 to accommodate Brian's
Brian,
hangar.
if he wants 40, yeah, it's not written in stone.
Okay.
They're just staked in
Okay.
soft ground.
To try and be able to try and get close measurements. Because once we knew the utility offset,
Yeah.
then we could figure out what going east would be.
Okay, so Brian's already been approved for 44 foot wide by 40 deep. Can I ask you guys to get the final word from the state and the energy, Northwest Energy, so that we can, because it's my understanding, Brian, you're looking to move forward just about right away, is that correct?
Well, you know, I'm glad you asked that because I had that in my notes here. Our schedules can be as flexible as the board needs it to be. So, you know, I guess the sense of urgency that maybe you're feeling from me was purely a result of feeling that that was my duty and my obligation to the board based on what I read in the lease. Because, you know, what I read there said, man, you have to break ground within 6 months and it's got to be completed within 6 months of that. And I understand, you know, the reasoning for that so that things don't just drag out forever. But this is, yeah, we can be as flexible as you need as far as time frame on the hangar.
Okay, well, we appreciate your flexibility. You've been very good about size and timing, so we appreciate that. That being said, we would like to not hold both of these parties up any longer than we have to, so let's do that, Seth. Can we get a final word from the state and Northwest Energy and get a...
Yeah, I'll contact Sean and see if he can get in writing from the gal he was talking to. I'll contact him again. As far as the state goes, we'll look into it.
I'll contact
Yeah.
the state.
He's
Okay.
retired, so he has a little bit extra time.
I don't have anything to do. Also for.
But I mean, and realistically, we could put Brian in contact with my father and
Yeah,
be on the same
Yeah.
page also.
yeah,
Because, you know, they're gonna have to have shared walls, so if it comes up and someone does wanna
We're
build.
gonna have to live next to each other,
So,
so. Another, something that the board might not be aware of, one of the contractors we contacted was Morton Building, and they are 36 to 48 weeks out.
wow,
And Midland Door is the same, 36 to 48 weeks out to get a door. So the board may have to, in the future, grant some extensions just due to the fact that you can't get materials and whatever on site.
yeah.
In a-
We can't order a door
in
until
a-
we have a footprint, so.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so, you might be able to break ground and get construction going in 6 months, but to complete it in another 6 months might be unrealistic in certain cases.
Yeah, and I don't know the language off the top of my head, but, you know, those 280-day periods are, of course, the goal. Now, there's some language in there about the board can grant extensions. Well, certainly that's not the goal. If it comes down to we can't get a door or we can't get materials in, I mean, we
Yeah.
can certainly take a look at that at that
Yeah.
time.
But just keep it in the back.
Okay.
Keep it in the back that it's not like 5 years ago where you could get something in 6 weeks. It's
Right.
Not anymore. So,
Okay. Okay.
And I
let's-
would say on our end, knowing that that's the case and that that we wouldn't be in jeopardy of somehow losing the opportunity to build a hangar, that only helps as far as the flexibility on our side. So whatever the airport needs and whatever the board needs, I'm sure we can accommodate it.
Okay, thank you. It sounds like all three parties, the Wolfgrams, Foster, and the airport board, are all pulling in the same direction. We all want to maximize use. We all want to be good neighbors and have a
And do it right the first
successful
time.
two
Right,
hangars
first
built.
time, that's the main
Yeah,
thing.
right,
Yeah,
And, you
We
know,
all have
all
to-
parties on the same page
yeah, we all
going
have to live
forward.
together here. So,
yeah, okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so where it sits now in Brian's Foster's lease is 44 wide, 40 deep. It looks like that's probably going to work, but we're gonna wait for final word from your guys' research, and then we can finalize what it says in your lease as far as the size, and we can let you guys go ahead and do whatever your next step is for building, so.
Yeah, that sounds, yeah,
Order your door, order your building, whatever.
yeah.
Okay, any other comment or discussion on hangar size of the two hangar lots? Okay. Is there any other new business?
Lloyd Thompson, Airport Manager. I just want to comment, I did change the lock on the file cabinet. That was me, Steve, that did that. But the file,
just gonna try to bring some information.
yeah, the file cabinet's not a public access point. I did lose a set of keys to our fuel master, and that was the main reason I had to change that lock, because somebody had gone and took a set of keys, so the person knows about it, we just can't find the keys, so that's what that's about.
Okay, thank you. Any new business? Okay, thank you. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
Second,
Okay, all in favor?
sorry, shiny object.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.